Hey everyone, just wanted to hop on here real quick and let you all know of a great event that I'm going to be a part of, as well as many previous guests on this show. So on Sunday, May 29th, I will be participating in the WAP Stripathon. And if you're thinking wet ass pussy, yes and no. It's going to be a charity stripathon happening at the legendary Penthouse Strip Club, and will be benefiting the Wish Drop-In Center, which is a nonprofit organization based in Vancouver that benefits street-based sex trade workers. Tickets are $20 or $30 at the door, and all proceeds, including stage tips, cover charges, all that, everything is going to charity. We hope this event will sell out, so we hope to see you there. So for more information, follow us on Instagram at Stripathon 2022. Welcome back to another episode of Strip by Sia, your podcast for strippers, sex workers, and all the fancy naked people in between. I am your host, Steph Sia, aka Kimchi, and at the time of recording, it's like way back in March, but by the time this is released, you will be seeing me on stage again for my gracious return to the Penthouse for 2 long weeks. So come see me naked. Throw some dollar bills, or actually $5 bills because you're in Canada, and yeah, come chat with me, take me for a dance, tell me how much you love the show. That would be awesome. I am a sex worker, so I'm a stripper. I'm also a content creator. I also was a sugar baby a long time ago, and now I do the show every single week. I bring on fun, fantastic, and inspiring guests on the show every single Sunday to help destigmatize sex work, because as you know, our work is highly stigmatized. There's a lot of misconceptions and just frankly a lot of shit that goes on behind the scenes that, you know, the average person might not know. There are a lot of sex workers that listen to the show, shout out to y'all, but there are also a lot of allies, clients as well, and just regular vanilla people, which is super cool. And honestly, this show is for you because y'all have a lot of learning to do, or maybe unlearning to do. So that's just a little about me, a little about the show. Before we get into this week's guest, which is Bad Kitty, I just wanted to shout out for all the new Patreon subscribers here that are subscribing to the top tier, because you all get a fan recognition shout out here on the show. So Justin Erickson, hello to you. Karen Zen, brand new, hello, welcome, and thank you so much for subscribing. Arab Sarkar, Stefan Chex, and Jay Sunstern, thank you so much for supporting the show. And if you are interested in supporting the show, there's 3 different tiers that you can choose from. I won't bother you or bore you with that whole spiel, but check it out. It's patreon.com/strippedbysia, and your help is greatly appreciated so I can get a new mic and actually some headphones and all the things. So enough of me talking here. I'm very excited to finally get this guest on the show today. She is an award-winning BBW. She just got an award for Best Booty on AVN Awards, and she is also a porn star, a content creator, a companion, and an all-around baddie. Please welcome to the show, Bad Kitty.
Hey y'all. Let me just go back. I love being hyped up, but it wasn't for Best Booty. It was for Best BBW.
Sorry, my bad. Best
Yes.
BBW, but you also have a really fantastic...
The booty's great too. Thank you. You know, the thing be thangin'. The wagon be wagonin'.
There we go.
The
Congratulations.
dumpy be dumping. Thank you. Don't get me started. I can keep going.
I was going to say, I'm like, please do. We'll be here for another 2 months.
I'm dead.
Bad Kitty, it's so great to have you on the show. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day today to speak with me and for the audience to get to know you. Can't wait.
I'm so excited. I'm glad that you reached out to me and that we were able to make it work, and I'm super excited.
Yay! Likewise. and I cannot wait to get into all the things today. So just if everyone's kind of curious what we're going to be talking about, obviously we're talking about sex work, we're talking about porn, we're talking about why she waited so long to get into the industry, which I also honestly think is really, really smart. And also we're going to be talking about weight gain. So before we get started and get into the nitty gritty of everything, I just want to throw out a potential trigger warning here because we are going to be talking about binge eating on this episode, possible mentioning of other possible maybe eating disorders. I know that weight gain is a big thing that a lot of us are struggling with, but there's so many different stories here, and I want Bad Kitty to share her stories. But if this is a trigger for you, please feel free to skip the episode. I will not be offended. It's totally okay. There are lots of episodes to choose from. But yeah, just a trigger warning for anyone out there that might find this information or content to be sensitive. So please bear that. Yeah, please keep that in mind.
Yeah, 100%. Because we want people to be, some just might not be the right time for you.
Yeah.
You could always come back to the episode if it's not quite right at that time.
Exactly.
No feelings are hurt.
No feelings are hurt. Exactly.
Yeah.
So just be responsible about the content you are consuming. But I guess, did I give you an okay intro? Like, how was that for you? Like, did I?
That's why I said it was great. You're hyping me up. I loved it. I just had to let it be known that not only the booty was the best, but the whole kitty cat was the best.
It was a whole
Yeah.
entire package,
Yeah.
girl.
And the thing that, is even more special about that was it was, a fan vote. So that I feel is even more appreciated because, it's from the people that you're doing it for,
Totally. I love
being recognized,
being
being
recognized, and it's a good
recognized.
feeling, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. Give flowers to the people while, they're there to smell them. So totally.
Exactly.
As I'm talking about my allergies, and I've been smelling too many flowers because my nose is so stuffed up. So excuse the sniffles, y'all. These allergies are whipping my ass.
Yes, Betty Kitty's going to be sniffling a lot in this episode, so I am sorry. I'll try to edit it as much as I can, but just bear with us. She's human. We're all human.
Gotta love spring, right?
Well,
Gotta
you
love
know what?
pollen.
Like, at least you're in LA. It's quite nice. So right now you are in LA at the time of recording. I'm here in the Pacific Northwest, and it's like rain season. So, but yeah, I mean,
The two evils, it's like the pollen's not there when it gets washed away, but then you don't get the pretty flowers sometimes. So it is what it
the
is.
struggle is real. But we're not here to talk about the weather. We're not here to talk about
No.
allergies.
Or allergies, right?
We're here
Not
to
at all.
talk about you, how you got into the adult industry, how you've been navigating sex work, and all the other things that we've been mentioning too. But maybe if you wanted to start at the very beginning, I know people are curious to hear about your life before sex work. So
Totally my village origin story.
yeah,
Um,
where did it all
uh,
begin?
right. I lived a super, and when I say, square vanilla, I'm not saying in a bad way, but just a very normal, normal person life. Like, I went to college and did that, went to school and, it was just very normal. And then but I had always known that I wanted to be in the industry. I just knew that the timing wasn't right. So,
Mm,
being 18 could have been a, great time to monetize, but I feel like I wouldn't have had, I wouldn't be here 5 years later into the industry being able to talk about it. I feel like because I would have, just burnt through it real quick. So,
yeah.
um, not to be, but I was sneaky watching porn as a kid, on the
Mhm.
unfettered access to the internet in the early 2000s, So it's like, and I, was just like interested, and I was like, I could do this, like, and
Mhm.
I could kill it. I could be great at this. So after, doing all the normal life and I have 3 college degrees, I have 2 professional state licenses, and just like a lot of life experience. And I was like, I don't want to do any of that. I
Mhm.
worked a 9 to 5 since I was 14 years old. And I was just like, I'm tired of working for somebody else. I want to be my own boss. I
Yeah.
want to do things on my time. I don't want to ask another grown up if I can go out of town for a
Mhm.
week. Like it's just
Yeah.
like there are just things that just didn't align with me and my soul. So once I got all my responsibilities out of the way and I did that, I was like, you know what? It was like 2017. I was like, I'm gonna start camming. I was like, I had just turned 25,
Mhm.
and I had my own space and my own time, and
Good.
that's what got me started was camming and the the freedom that I received from that at home and being able to still work. I was going to school at this time specifically. I had class at like 7 a.m. I'd get up, drive to college, go to class 7 a.m., would be done by like 11 or 12, then work 1:30 to 10, go to work, come home, go to the gym for an hour, and then cam until like 3 a.m. sometimes. Yeah, so it was just like
Damn.
hitting the pavement because I was like, I know that I didn't want to do this forever. And I remember telling my mom, I'm an adult. I was like, I'm going to quit my job. I'm going to quit my job. She's like, no, don't quit your job. You need stability.
Mm-hmm.
And then COVID happened and I
Mm-hmm.
lost my job. And that was the best thing that happened to me. You know, like a lot of bad things happened to a lot of people in COVID, but that was the one shiny moment for myself personally. You know, I was losing my job and being able to be doing this full time.
Wow. Holy crap. There's a lot of things to unpack here.
Right. I was like rambled. I'm like,
there's a lot. Okay, I'm going to start back chronologically. So you were mentioning early on when you started your story, you were talking about it wasn't the right timing before. So what was it about not the right timing that wasn't the right timing? Like, was it because you wanted to get your schooling and stuff out of the way? You wanted to have a taste of like quote unquote real / corporate life first before dabbling into sex work, or like what was it about that?
I feel like I did a lot of self discovery before 25, and I don't know, I think it was what I wanted, and I feel like there was a sense of responsibility and expectations that were set on me, you know, being a child of like an immigrant and wanting to, do my parents right, So like you might be able to relate in that, you want to be, you want to do the right thing. And so I thought, oh, I'm supposed to go to college. I'm supposed to do this. But at the end of the day, I was fucking miserable. It's like, why I'm like young and vibrant and I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And like, why aren't I happy?
Mm-hmm.
Like
Oh
if this
yeah.
is what the life is supposed to be, I'm living the American dream. I'm like, well, I'm not happy.
Yeah.
So that's really what it came down to. And funny enough, I graduated college, or I graduated high school at 16. I was like a super overachiever, like straight A student. And it just got to the point where I was like, I'm not gonna do this no more. Who am I doing this for?
Yeah.
Like,
Good question.
so then I ended up getting kicked out of college I had a .5 GPA. I just dilly daddled, fucked around, just
Damn.
didn't go to school, just didn't go to class. I wasted my time and money, but other people's time and money.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized that was a big learning lesson for me and I think that was something that I benefited from is I had to fail. I went from being, so awesome and meeting everybody's expectations and doing everything right. When I got tired of it, I failed. I fell on my fucking face and
Mm-hmm.
had to tell people that I failed once the time came. And I feel like that lesson in itself was a big game changer for me.
Yeah. Holy crap. That's a big wake up call too. And
Mm-hmm.
I will touch back on this too. But again, there's a couple points that you mentioned here too that
So I'm a rambler. I'll get onto a tangent and
I
I
love
just
it.
start. So if you got to corral me, corral me.
No, you're on the right podcast. We do a lot of tangents here, so I will steer it back. But
Perfect.
you were talking about, because I actually don't know what your cultural background is.
Yeah, I don't talk about it a lot just
Mm-hmm.
because I feel like there's a lot of like fetishization, and
Yeah.
so I always tell people, I'm like, you want to pay me, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
But
No.
my dad's from Jamaica.
Mm-hmm.
He's like a super old school, like Rasta, super, conservative and, old timey. And then my mom, her parents, or not her parents, but her grandparents are German. And then on the other side, it's just a bunch of white stuff. I guess like
Mm-hmm.
German, Norwegian, I don't know. So
But
Jamaican and white. Yeah.
yeah, there we go. I mean, because you said something earlier too, is just like having immigrant parents, because my parents are also immigrants as well. I'm Filipino Chinese. And there's like a little bit of that, like wanting to please your parents and having that immigrant guilt if like, your parents have laid out so much for you, they sacrificed so much for you. Like from me, my parents go like, oh yeah, as long as you go to university / college, you could do whatever you want, just graduate, and then you could do whatever the hell you want afterwards, because then you'll be a real quote unquote adult after that.
Exactly.
You got like the eye roll there. Totally.
Yeah.
Like, how do you feel about that? Like, and I wonder too, because like a lot of us, or society in general, we are always putting like corporate work on a pedestal. And I'm just wondering, why the hell is that it?
Yeah. Like, why is the ideology of you're successful when you're putting money in somebody else's pocket? You're, spending how many hours a week working for the benefit of somebody or something else. And that's the thing I don't understand as well too. But yeah, I feel like there's definitely like the first generation kid guilt type of thing. And it's funny because my parents come from like totally separate worlds. My dad's, is from the sticks in Jamaica, doesn't have a lot of formal education, but can do anything. He's might not be a book smart man, but he could do everything in the world. And my mom was, upper middle class, the child of like civil servants and stuff, it's always lived well. So it's like a weird, not weird, but it's great, but it's just a very different life. So it's like I understand the struggle and I understand the success. And I'm what, 6 out of 8 of my dad's kids. So there's ones that are older and there's ones that are younger.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, so I'm the most successful out of all of them. I'm the only one who, so far, I have 2 little sisters and one just got accepted to college. And I'm so proud of her. But I was, the first one to go to college, was the first one to, make over 6 figures in the family. It's the first one to do a lot.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of, weight on that. So it's like, I did all these great accomplishments and then, some people might be like, well, wouldn't your parents rather you be doing this? I was like, my parents rather me be happy. They're super supportive. It really just comes down to, at the end of the day, they saw that I wasn't happy and now they see me happy and they're happy.
That's amazing. And those are huge, huge milestones, huge accomplishments as well. Like, what parent wouldn't be proud? And of course, there are instances where, unfortunately, where parents aren't as accepting or family isn't so accepting with the work that we do because it's quote unquote like looked down upon, even though it it makes like X amount more money than a corporate gig.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's tricky. I mean, like, it's really, really hard sometimes to just trying to get people to understand that this is just like another profession. And this is why we have people like you on the show to say and to normalize and to humanize sex work.
And you kind of take on all of these. There's so many skills that I've learned in the last 5 years of being in sex work that I didn't have before. Like, I wasn't a marketer before. I wasn't a video photo editor before. I wasn't a promoter before. I wasn't a webmaster before. It's like all these skills that I've learned from this. And it's not just like busting it open every day. I love the days that it is busting it open, but there's also days where it's like back end admin stuff that people don't see. It's not always fucking. There's a lot of behind the scene stuff that, some people have teams to help them do it. I'm like a one woman show. I just started letting people in because I'm a control freak and I want it done my way and done right. And, bless the people that work with me because I'm like, I'm not trying to, cuss you out, but this wasn't how I wanted it.
I hear you. I hear you with that for sure. You mentioned earlier, like within your timeline, so you had graduated high school at 16, you started going to college, and you were, I guess, maybe just what was happening during that timeline that you were starting to flunk out of college? What was there something there that you are comfortable bringing up, if there was anything?
Yeah. I was going through like a lot of like mental health stuff in like high school time, and that's why I actually graduated a year early from high school. I remember coming home one day and I was like, I'm not dropping out, but I'm not going back. Like, that was the exact conversation. And so I ended up doing independent studies and I did my junior and senior year in the 1 year. And I wasn't ready to go to college. Like, with my personal circumstances and the stuff that I was going through, what I know now, when I look back, I'm like, I wasn't ready. So that's probably what led me to be kicked out. It was funny because I had to go to like a lot of remedial classes and I had to go to, an academic counselor. And it was funny because he was trying to be smart. He was like, so what were you do? Hanging out with your friends and smoking weed? I was like, no, I was hanging with myself and smoking weed. Like, I wasn't hanging out with nobody.
Yeah.
I was just sitting by myself, like, and I was just, I don't know, I felt like there was too much freedom because, you go to call from high school to college, there's not the hand holding and did you turn your homework in? Did you study?
Yeah.
I was like, I learned online classes weren't for me because I was just fuck around and not do the work. And I would show up to the test and then be like, why did I even waste my time? I just got an F. But
Yeah. That's a
silly.
that's a big wake up call, honestly, too.
Hmm.
Like that jump from going from high school over into college. Like I also did that too. And I thought, oh yeah, I'm just coasting through high school. I could do the same thing in university, and it's not. It's
No, not at all.
the same.
The half-assery, yeah, like a high school C is a college F. Like, like the level of work you put in to just coast and get a C. But yeah, it's a mess. But I'm glad I learned that, and
Yeah.
yeah,
It's a
it is what
valuable,
it
like,
is.
life lesson, I think, because
Totally.
as you mentioned earlier, like, you sometimes have to make those mistakes to really, not take things for granted, and also just look at what's in front of you and seeing how
Yeah,
you're dealing with things, right? So, that's really
totally. And I think of a line from Fight Club that Tyler Durden says that Edward Norton plays, or maybe not Ted. Brad Pitt plays Tyler Durden, but Fight Club in itself, they're the same, but they're different, but whatever. But they say, it's not until you lose everything that you're free to do anything,
right.
and that's something that really resonated with me. And it's kind of true. Like,
Mhm.
I don't want anybody to ever fail ever, but there's a lot of lesson and self-reflection that comes in it. And people are like, they say, you fall down 10 times, but you keep getting up that, 11th time. And it's like, it really, even if you don't get it back right the first time, I feel like if I hadn't failed, who knows what I'd be doing. I'd probably be knee deep in a miserable career, hating my life
Right.
every day,
Yeah.
coming home to work and asking my boss when I can go to the bathroom. Like, I'm a grown ass woman. I don't need to ask no other grown up when I
No,
could do anything. Yeah.
totally. That makes a lot of sense. And I feel like you actually went through, losing it all. I feel like you went through that twice. Cause so that time between high school and college, and then also with the pandemic, losing your corporate job, that gave
Totally.
you the time now to dedicate fully to, at the time, I guess, your cam work.
Yeah. Well, I didn't even think about it that way too. I mean, I was like, you're right. When I was like, I lost more. When you're like during the pandemic, I was like, oh yeah, cool, yeah, yeah.
This makes
but
sense.
But totally, and losing my job made it so that I can travel all the time to shoot or do whatever, and take a phone call at 1 in the afternoon when that would be the time that I'm clocking in, or taking a lunch or something. So it's like there's just so much more freedom, and it led me to where I am now.
Absolutely. Well, let's continue going on with, like, your sex worker journey. So you started off with camming, and then, that was kind of during when you were juggling like everything. And then where did
Yeah.
you go from there? Like, tell us. Tell us.
Yeah, so I was camming on Chatterbait and doing that, and then a couple performers had reached out to me kind of like 2019, and I came to LA, shot some content, some like boy girl content, and it kind of blew up, and people wanted more because it went from doing just like solo stuff, and I was really another part that I missed out, but I was really focused on like domination, like female domination, financial domination,
Yes.
all that dominatrixy good stuff. So that was another big shift because at the time in the industry, and there's horophobia inside, like the hierarchy of
Yes.
sluts, basically. And I'm like, we're all on the
Well,
same
what?
page. Yeah, right. We're all, just because you don't do this doesn't make you better than the person who does do that. So the rhetoric at that time, like 2017, 2018, was that Doms shouldn't show nudity. Dom shouldn't
Mhm.
be busting it up, and Dom shouldn't be sucking and fucking. Like, it's just like, well, that's silly.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, if that's how my peers are gonna act towards me, I'm gonna, kind of rebrand and change it. So then it went to basically like content creation, and I still do domination. I still do like fin dom and all of that. But the shift went into more like porn focused and
Oh.
working with other people, collaborations, and solos as well too. Because there's still, I love to do the other side. Someone said Dom Kitty the other day when Dom Kitty comes out, but I feel that kind of took my focus because I'm like, I love to show off and perform in front of people and be kind of an exhibitionist. So that's where that led me, and then I got booked by a really popular company, and that kind of put me more into like the public's eye of, oh, it's not just a content creator. That's the air quotes. No, just content creator, because there's hierarchy in that even too.
Yeah.
But so
Yeah.
that kind of put me on a different pathway. And then so, I picked up a couple mainstream shoots from them, but all the people that I want to work with are all the people who are booked on those same sites, as I'm able to make for myself. And really, at the end of the day, the exposure that you can get from a mainstream shoot is priceless. It's not promo that I can pay for or that you can pay for on these like multi-million view websites.
Yeah.
But the bread is, keep the bread for yourself,
Yeah.
shoot your own stuff, pay people to come into your shoot. That's where it's led me now, is like
Wow.
self shooting and self booking.
Okay. Okay. I have so many
Yeah.
questions. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Where do where do I even start? Okay, I want to go back to the hierarchy because I think that's a really important piece to talk about there. Because of course we talked about that a ton on the show too. But like, had you personally experienced any like horophobia or any kind of animosity towards you for doing stuff that dominatrix quote unquote don't typically do?
Totally. That was my first taste of it,
Oh
was
wow.
the yeah, in the beginning of my career was kind of other doms in the community, where it's a heavily, the people don't necessarily look like us. You don't see a lot of brown, black,
Yes.
non-white dominatrixes. It's a very
Mhm.
different thing. So I was like, damn, it's why we're this, we're on the same level, like
Mhm.
we're supposed to be sisters or whatever, and you're like over here shitting on me. So I'm like, that was the first taste that I got of like the hierarchy and like
Mhm.
slut shaming from within the community.
Yeah.
And then you see that when it comes to that. I'm sure you might see that when it comes to stripping.
Yep.
You see that when it comes to full service. Like, I'm not an escort. I just
Yeah.
sell flight pics. I just do findom. I don't expose myself. I don't show my body. It's like
Yeah.
we're all in the position of the sex
Yeah.
business. Somebody, whether you can be fully clothed, there's going to be somebody jerking it to your
Yeah.
fully clothed body, whether or not, you know. So I think it's silly. It's like, it's, one band, one sound, but all
Mhm.
over here trying to play the triangle. We're playing the drums right now. You're still in the band,
Yeah.
but you're not different. You're still in the band. Like,
Yeah. No, that's a great metaphor, actually. That's a really, really great metaphor for sure. It's just so damaging, I would say, because, like, even to this day, like, hearing cases of horophobia within our community, it's just so hurtful because, like, everyone's already against us. Everyone already hates sex workers. Like, we don't need that extra hate from within, you know?
Not at all. And it's like, that just weakens us. And, if it's like, well, see, y'all don't even respect each other. The girls are fighting. It's like, why should we respect you when you guys don't respect each other, type of thing. And that, like you said, it's really damaging for outsiders looking in, but also that somebody might see that and be like, damn, I wanted to try that avenue. But if I'm going to get, flack about it, people are going to, do whatever. That's not how I want to be perceived. That's not what I want.
Yeah.
But, I'm like, fuck it.
Yeah.
Get
Fuck
the
it.
bag.
Totally.
Fuck it, get the
Exactly.
bag.
Get it. You mentioned something earlier too. Dominatrixes don't typically look like you. Um, did you also experience that with camming as well, or in other areas of sex work too?
Totally. I mean, I joke and say I have the big three. I come from, my skin color gives me privilege because I'm, on the lighter end.
Mhm.
And, I feel so bad for my, colleagues, coworkers, my friends that are, of a darker complexion. Their skin is fucking beautiful, but it's like, you see, there's so many different scales. So it's like, I have the benefit of that, but I'm tattooed. So might be light skinned, but I'm tattooed, and people don't like, heavily tattooed women. I'm not skinny. I'm not skinny like I was when I started in the industry.
Mhm.
So there's that. And then, so it's like I joke and I say fat, black, and tattooed. Like that's my big three, it's like, people, I have no issue with it, but there's other people who have issues here. So you aren't seeing doms or, a lot of performers that I feel like I resonated with. Even when I was sneak watching porn on the computer,
Yep.
there weren't a lot of people who looked like me.
Mhm.
And so that was a part of the thing. It's like one of those things like, well, if y'all can't do it, I'm gonna do it myself.
Yeah,
You know,
I think that's
that's what I'm gonna do, because I want people to, resonate with me and be like, oh damn, that's what I want to see.
Totally.
So there's definitely levels to the shit inside the industry itself.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm so glad that you're able to speak to that too, because like again, like I try my best to try to get as much like a very diverse amount of guests on the show. And sometimes it can be hard because the people that want to come on the show, I'm sorry to say, but they're all white.
Yeah,
Everyone wants to come on the show, they're all white. So when I'm like looking for guests sometimes too, like I'm not just actively seeking, it's not like I'm picking and choosing and tokenizing anyone. But sometimes it's
yeah,
really hard because I'm just like, well, where are all my like BIPOC peeps at? Because as you said,
totally.
we're severely like underrepresented in many parts of the
100%.
industry.
Well, then that's why I was so excited you reached out. And I was like, she's, closer to me, like
Yeah.
like you said, you're mixed of ethnicity. So,
Hmm.
you're outside. I'm like, okay, so she's beautiful. She's Asian and she's a sex worker. Those are two things that I think are really great because I don't like it. Obviously, I want other people who are interested to ask us our story.
Hmm.
I don't have an issue with people on the outside asking us, but don't tell our story for us.
Yeah.
And I would rather tell my story to somebody who's lived a similar experience because you don't want to be, they're asking you questions and then it feels judgy,
Yeah.
and I'm like, then you feel like they're going to spin it on you and make it negative.
Yeah, yeah, I hear you. And sometimes I just it just feels invasive to me.
Totally.
Very invasive.
So that's why I'm glad that you have this platform to, there's not people who don't get it. We might have lived a different experience, but we're all together.
We're all together. Exactly.
Yeah.
You mentioned earlier too, you were talking about you're not the same size as when you first started in sex work. I feel like now is probably a good time that we transition over into, I guess, the weight gain topic because, a lot of us have gone through weight gain being in terms of like it's the pandemic, we're not moving. A lot of us are working from home or moved our in-person work online. And obviously like with content creation, like OnlyFans and clip sites being super popular and camming and stuff too. Like a lot of us are just like not moving anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot more, I feel like reclusivity. Like I know I'm a homebody to begin with, but I spent a lot of time in the house and my favorite gym wasn't open. And, I wasn't able to like feel confident going to the grocery store to buy what I needed. So it was a lot of combination of stuff. But before I started in the industry, I was like working on losing weight. So when I started in the industry, I was actively like losing weight. So I was maybe like 190 pounds at like my slimmest. So like my very first mainstream shoot was me like at my slimmest and I shot and was really slim, but I was super not the thing I was most self-conscious about was my boobs. And
Okay.
especially with my when my weight fluctuated because I never had perky boobs. I really bottom heavy. I don't have a lot of upper breast tissue and when my weight fluctuated, my boobs changed and it was a really hard time to find bras and so I kind of was like, all right, well that's something I want to fix. Then, I was really, fit, I was feeling good, pandemic happened and I put on like 50, 60 pounds. Like I'm not even like I don't feel bad about it. But that put me into a different category and people, started looking at me different. And it was funny, I was on another podcast this week and I was like, can we do something like a mean tweet read? And he's like, yeah, you got a mean tweet? And I was like, yeah, it was basically like, ew, bad kitty, you let yourself go, so fucking
Yeah.
disgusting, throw up face. And like,
I
I'm
saw
like, it's like
that.
water off a duck's back. You saw that? Yeah. And I was like,
Yeah.
what did I say? And I said, and so are my pockets. Love
Yeah.
you, And I was like, yeah, this might be the biggest I've ever been, but it's also the biggest the bank's been. So, like and it's not to say that I don't want to, get back working out and all that. And I do,
Mhm.
but that just wasn't something I was focused on. But
Totally.
I definitely saw people started treating me differently
Mm.
and started looking at me differently. I know like people who said that they wanted to work with me before, they don't
Oh,
now. And I'm like, that's
wow.
fine. Nobody has to explain why they don't want to,
Yeah,
play with me, type of thing. I'm like, we're all,
totally.
you don't have to say, but I definitely see the difference. But on the other coin, it's really funny because um, I've gotten the most bookings when I've been this size as well too. And
Hmm.
the one thing I got my boobs done and that changed everything for me and my self-confidence. I'm like, I might look at my, my stomach's a little bit pudgier than it was before, or, my hips are wide, whatever. But to me, I'm happy. I'm happy with what I see in the mirror.
Yeah.
Now, like, I don't have an issue with it, but it's just really icky how people, I mean, we have a, industry that's focused on our body. We're,
Yeah.
providing services with our body. We're exposing our bodies, and people are always going to have something to say, but I'm like, it's not going to get to me. It
Yeah.
doesn't bother me.
You can't let it get to you. It's like so it's such a volatile and like dangerous hole to go down because it just starts like self-sabotage. Like you then might go through like body dysmorphia as well too, and that's like a whole
100%.
thing. Yeah, did you want to speak a little bit about that if you want to get personal?
Yeah, I mean, I always it's funny because I'm like, I felt like there's always just not a skin, like a slim, thick, bad bitch inside me at all times, and sometimes the outside matches what I feel is on the inside, and sometimes it doesn't. But when I look in the mirror, I don't think, ugh, fat bitch. The stuff that people say to me, I don't think about that when I'm looking at myself in the mirror. I'm like, ooh, bad bitch, yes, thighs, yeah. People pay me to sit on their face and smother them, and I'm like, there's all these. I'm like, I don't have an issue with it. I like it's whatever, but there's definitely I know I personally I go through times of like restrictive eating where I
Mhm.
don't want to eat anything, or my anxiety is so bad that I just feel like I can't eat anything. And you
Right.
see, the weight change from that. And it's funny because that's when people are like, "Oh, you look so good." And I'm like,
Mhm.
I am upset. I don't feel good. I'm depressed. I can't eat.
Yeah.
And that's one of my comforts is I love to eat. And like I know that that's one of my first signs that people know like that I'm not well. Like
Yeah.
if I was kidnapped and I had to send a video, I was like, I'm not hungry. People be like, she's not okay. Help her. Somebody find her. But that, also kind of becomes my downfall because it's very easy to get into a system of like binge eating, like binging and purging and all, it's a rough cycle sometimes. And,
Mhm.
you know, there's times where it's good and there's times where it's bad. But there's definitely I don't like the cycle. I don't like the way it makes me feel, because you are like, I'm doing this because it's making me feel better right now. But then afterwards, you feel kind of like icky. It's almost like post nut clarity, like you
Yeah.
got what you wanted, and now you're stuck with like, oh, I don't like that.
Yeah, it doesn't
It felt
sit
good for a
well.
minute.
Yeah, it's just like a temporary fix. It's like a Band-Aid, right? But it's not
Yeah.
actually fixing the problem. Like with your binge eating, like I can't even imagine like what you'd be going through with that. But like what's going through your head when you're going through these cycles? And how long are you in these cycles for? Do they vary?
I feel like sometimes it doesn't happen at all, and then sometimes it does. Like I can't remember the last time that I felt like I was like out of control or something. There's definitely been times where I, order a bunch of like junk food and then eat it all, and it feels cool in the moment. It feels good, and then afterwards, I'm like, damn, like I really felt shitty about that.
Mhm.
Or you start to see, you look in the trash later, and you're like, what the hell, like So I feel like it's something quick. It's more like a singular event,
Okay.
and it might happen, you know, 1 to 2 times a month. And this is just now. I feel like at
Mhm.
like a younger state in my life it was more like it would be more frequent. It would be like a couple times a week, or
Oh,
and then I'd be purging, and then I'd go out to dinner, and then my logical brain was, you're wasting money. Like,
yes.
you're gonna eat all this shit and you're not gonna like hang out with it. You're just gonna let it go afterwards, like, damn, you're wasting money. But then it's like, I don't know. It's just an icky cycle. But I feel good about where I am
Today.
now. And it's one of those things. I feel good when I meal prep, and
Mhm.
I don't have to think about the food, because
Yeah.
you start to you think about what am I going to eat next. It's like, what do I feel for right now? And I know when I'm on like my meal prep and with my trainer and doing what I need to do, that takes a whole like piece of my brain off, because it's very kind of like anxiety inducing. You're thinking about that, and I'm like, okay, I just know that I have a meal that's packed. I'm gonna go and I'm gonna grab it. It's good for me. It's portioned out properly, because I was always like a big eater, and it was always kind of the joke was like, look how much you can put away, But I was like, yeah, no, that's not realizing like it's like a thing, like eating until you feel like you're gonna explode, type of thing. And it's like, I'm glad that it's a lesser event, and I don't feel like it's something that bothers me as frequently and as often.
I'm really glad to hear that because it really certainly sounds like it's been a journey for you. compared to
Yeah,
when you were younger, right? So it sounds like it's come a long
totally.
way.
And it's, it's seen differently, whether it's, if there's somebody who's anorexic, they physically, you can tell that they're, wasting, or that they're skinny, they look unwell. When there's somebody who's my size and they say, I have an eating disorder, they're like, just being fat and eating what you want isn't a disorder. And it's like, no, binge eating is. Like, binging and purging is in fact. And that's the thing, when you see larger bodies, fuller bodies, it's not taken as seriously, because
Yeah,
it's like,
I was gonna bring that up.
it's a different feel where it's, everybody, and that's, the big thing too, is you don't know what people are going through by the way that they look,
Hmm.
type of thing. You can, you might be able to say, oh, that girl looks anorexic, she looks really skinny, but you can't look at somebody with a fuller body and be like, say that she's not as well too, because you
Hmm.
don't know what she's doing after or before she's eating or not eating, or, whatever. So it's
Yeah, I
definitely,
really want. Yeah, I'm so glad you started to talk about this because I was wondering the same thing. Because like with BBWs, like you're known for having all the curves, voluptuousness, all that stuff. And I was gonna say, like, how does that look like, and how does that feel like when these diseases are not taken as seriously, or like people like don't believe that it's a thing?
yeah, I mean, I'm sure that, I'm not speaking for anybody, but I'm sure that there's other, BBW performers who feel, the same way. Or, maybe they don't feel, because there's, not being in control, and then there's the fetish of like feederism. That's a whole nother
Mm.
thing. And, but I'm sure that there's lots of other, full figured people that are, feeling the same way. And so hopefully, they see something to, to talk about.
For sure.
But then it's funny because this is the first time I've like ever really talked about it at all. So,
Oh, thank
yeah, so it was, that's why I was like, when you brought it up, I was like, okay, eyeballs, nope, we're tough. You're a bad bitch.
You got
Right?
this. And thank you so much for
Totally.
your bravery and just being so vulnerable about it, because this stuff that we don't really bring up very often. Like if anyone else is interested and needs some help to talking about this or wants to hear another perspective, go listen to Evie Brooks's episode in season 2. We talk about anti-fat bias and what that feeling is like. And if you're on the other spectrum, I want to say other spectrum of eating disorders, but unfortunately
Yeah.
anorexia and bulimia, listen to the Belle Beckwith episode and we talk about that, because those are 2 other episodes that might be of interest to anyone here listening that might be struggling. So, but yeah, thank you so much for your just courageousness, because it's not easy to speak about this kind of stuff. It's really personal.
Not at all. Yeah. And it really is. And it kind of like, to segue into, I saw a comment from somebody after I ended up winning the AVN for fan favorite BBW. Someone said, did you gain weight just to get this award? And I'm like,
What?
what? Like, no. Like, what?
What the fuck?
That's so strange. Like, I'm like, it just was a perk that came with it. Like,
Yeah.
and, there's, to kind of segue into, there's acceptable fat, when it comes to
Oh, yes.
me kind of on the smaller side of BBW. And it's funny because there's tweets that I talked about before where I didn't appreciate being called BBWs because I felt like it took away from the people who were, in fact, I felt more representative of the term BBW.
Right.
And I felt like people were, taking from them. And, I'm so proud of my win, but it is kind of ironic that they're like, isn't that the bitch that was saying she's not a BBW and now she won the BBW award? Like, so I can see
Yeah.
that. I'm sure that there is, people thinking that same thing, because I'm like, I thought it myself too. Like, damn, I was just tweeting about this the other day, But there's definitely a gal, and I had talked about this on TikTok because she had said something, and she, it's a nice, juicy, voluptuous woman. She's probably about a 4X, 5X,
Hmm.
super sexy, beautiful gal. And she had posted something, and about like, do you really like BBWs, or do you like the fake BBWs that are, like 12 to 16 sizing? And I'm like, let me stand up for the girls, because it's not easy. Like, and I worked in plus size fashion for a really long time, and
Hmm.
intimates, and you would see from the gals that, there were 4X, 5X, they're like, why is there a 1X here? Why is there an
Oh,
extra
wow.
large here? And when I was small, I was like an 8, 10. That was small for me. That was the smallest I've ever been. It wasn't easy I couldn't go to like a regular straight fashion size and find clothes that fit because a large wasn't an actual large. I couldn't go to the plus size store because it was too big for me at that point in time, where it was just
Wow.
like this weird feel. So it's like
You're like in limbo.
people be like, oh, exactly. And
Yeah.
even now at this size, I understand that I'm the acceptable fat or the acceptable BBW body. I don't have the build that's not considered sexy by other people. And that's unfortunate because I feel everybody's sexy, and it's like and you're definitely speaking from a place of privilege for sure
Yeah. No.
in that.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you brought that up too, because then like, of course, I'm out of that space, so I don't feel that I'm the right person to be speaking about this at all, which is why I bring guests on to speak about this that are representative of it. But yeah, like I noticed that same thing too, that there is a spectrum, there is like a range, or like maybe subcategories of BBW. Like I don't even know if there are other categories within BBW as well. Like, is there?
Yeah, there's the from what I know, there's, and this might be just me not knowing because there's more, but what I know personally is there's like the BBW, and then there's a supersized BBW. So that is the gals that are much more to love. So my thought of what a supersized BBW is when you cut into like the 5X, 6X, everybody's weight is different. So I'm not going to say any weights, but it's definitely a larger body. And that, has its own market. The supersized BBW market, these girls are cleaning up cash.
Yeah.
Whether it's, all these different things and making great content and all, there's something for everybody. So it's like, just because you don't like it doesn't mean that these girls aren't bringing in the dough, like
Yeah, and
they are.
that's like one thing I love about sex work is because there is literally something for everyone out there. Literally.
Yeah. hmm
With like more
And I'm like,
categories to be created.
exactly. I'm like, oh, they want to call you fat bitch. Okay, well, this fat bitch just got, money. This fat bitch just did this. It's like, and I feel like I watched a video and somebody said, people get so upset when you see, fat people enjoying their bodies and or,
Mhm.
not being upset with it because just because you're disgusted doesn't mean I am.
Yeah.
And it's like that cognitive dissonance. It's like, well, I don't like you. And I think you're gross. Like you shouldn't like you, and you should think you're gross. And it's like that's not how it is all the time. Some people, I'm sure, do feel that way, and I feel like that sometimes on occasion. But I'm like, just because you don't like me doesn't mean that I'm not gonna like me. And I feel like that makes people uncomfortable
Yeah.
sometimes.
And that uncomfortability, like what is it with, people that aren't BBWs? Like what is it about what makes them uncomfortable about seeing someone else enjoying their body, seeing someone embracing their own skin? Like what's up with that? Like is it just because we've been conditioned for so long to say that like, oh, these are what we consider as quote unquote normal bodies, and like more skin and more to love is off to us. Like,
Yeah, like it's a bad thing, and I'm like, it's just silly to me because I'm like, yeah, the dudes that y'all think are the hottest, sexiest dudes, yeah, he be laying on my tummy. He be squishing me like this. It's like all these things. And it's like, just because you don't like it doesn't mean that I'm not a person of value and that people that you find attractive don't like me,
Mhm,
type of thing. And it's like,
absolutely.
well, everybody shouldn't like that. And I'm like, no, like, that's not how that works. Just because you don't like it, keep it pushing.
Exactly.
But why comment on it? Because now I think you got a humiliation kink and I got to call you out your name and retweet it, and I'm like, not literally call them out their name, but, I was like, I'm going to retweet it and be like, yeah, I love you too, like.
Yeah, because I was gonna ask,
It
like,
is.
because there's so much, and especially with Twitter too, there's so many trolls on Twitter, but like in general, like how do you deal with the negative comments and the negative feedback, whether they're from fans on Twitter or Reddit or people commenting or even people that, might not want to work with you anymore? How do you cope with it all?
It's funny because uh, I feel like people have told me that I'm like cold, and I don't feel like that I'm cold at all. I just feel like that's an excuse when you have boundaries
Yeah.
and you don't let people push them and you're not reactive to, something that they want. So people that can hurt my feelings are people who know me personally,
Yeah.
like my family. My best friend and I are beefing right now.
Uh-oh.
So he hurt my feelings, but
Yeah.
you could say what he said to me and I'm like, bye, bitch, bye. But, that's somebody that hurt my feelings, but
Yeah.
people that don't know me, you can't hurt my feelings. I might be like, huh, anyways, keeping it pushing. Like
Yeah.
in that moment that I read that tweet that was like, you're so fat, you left yourself no blood. And I was like, anyways,
Yeah.
I was like,
Next. Moving
but why
on.
take the time? Why
Yeah.
take the time out of your day? Because you say, I don't like you, I don't care, but you took the time to tweet it. You took the time to type it up. You
Hmm.
took the time to look at it and point out what you didn't like. I see something I don't like, boop, I scroll it so fast. Like,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
but so when I see hate comments, I always just reply back with like a heart or like a kissy face or something because I'm like, y'all can't get to me. And I just keep it pushing. And I have another couple homegirls. Sometimes, like if we get roasted, we'll rate the roast, and it's like 6 out of 10, not very good.
I love that. That's a good strategy,
You'll do
though.
better. Yeah, I'm like, do better.
Yeah.
Like
Do
this
your
is what
duty.
I would have said,
Yeah.
because like I what you're gonna say to me is something I couldn't think of something worse to myself and that I haven't said to myself in my lifetime. So it's like it ain't no thing. I enjoy not that I enjoy it, but I enjoy the fact that I make people so upset or feel something so viscerally that
Mhm.
they take the time out of their day to do it. And I'm like, gotcha. Like that's the whole point. I wanted you to interact,
Mhm.
whether it was positive or negative. And specifically on TikTok, I'm like, y'all don't know how the algorithm works?
I was just gonna
When you
say.
interact, when you interact with these types of posts, you're gonna get more of them. When you comment on them, it brings more to you, but it brings more eyes to me as well too. So thank you.
I
I love it when you interact because you're helping me. I'm not like what you're saying, but strategically, business wise, you interacting with it helps.
That's what we
You know,
want. You're like, thank
yeah,
you for boosting my engagement and getting more visibility to my page. Like, thanks so much. Like,
exactly.
appreciate it.
Right. And I'm like, it's whatever. I it really doesn't bother me at all. Like
Yeah.
I'm like, whatever. But the funny thing is people aren't gonna ever say it to your face.
Yeah.
Like you're not gonna say it to my face. And if you do, honestly, I'd be impressed.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'd probably be taken aback. I'd be like, huh, new achievement unlocked. I'd be surprised. I
No,
don't even know
I
what
hear you. It's like a lot of really bored people out there. A lot of people hiding behind a screen, all that stuff. Just they want to they don't want to add their 2 cents, but like really, we don't really have time to deal with that kind of stuff because it's taken away from your own work. It's not being productive. It doesn't accomplish anything. It's just like go get a job or get a life.
exactly. Right. I'm like, you'd be so mad. Like the thing that you should be mad about is not me.
Hmm.
I'm sure there's something else in your life that you could be mad about. Me, little me, on the internet? Nah.
No, no, we don't got time
Go
for
to a different page.
that.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Silly.
Well, there are a few questions that came in. I know I kind of told you earlier too, but I think they're rather mundane. But if you want to go into them, we can. If you want to
Why
skip
not?
them, that's cool. But I mean, they they
I'll
just
play ball.
from
Let's,
dudes.
yeah.
They're just from dudes that I know just came from your page to my page and like, let me ask you this question. So
Oh, yeah. The typical Instagram
yes,
questions for sure.
exactly.
Hmm.
So first question today is, what is your favorite position?
My favorite position, I really like doggy. I like missionary stuff, but whatever the one is where you're like flat on your tummy and your legs are out straight,
Mm-hmm.
that that's
Oh
the
yeah,
that's the one.
getting real deep.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. That's the
There
one.
we go. Have you had any favorite scenes that you've shot?
Yeah, I have a couple favorite scenes that I've shot. My favorite ones are always the ones that I make myself because it comes from like my brain. But I love all the like mainstream scenes I've been in. But um, yeah, there's when I can use like a creative mind. Like I have one that's called Hot Ho Summer. It's like been my most popular, and it's kind of like a role play conceptual. And I'm like, if y'all not gonna book me, then I'm just gonna make the videos that I want to be in. So I'll do it myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God, we didn't really like take time to talk about that. Do you want to quickly go into like your whole like self shooting and how?
Yeah, I mean,
Sorry, I
like I
forgot.
said, I was like, if I totally, but if I'm not gonna get, booked frequently, I've been, but industry 5 years, I've gotten booked 4 times, and
Mhm.
like I was telling you, it's always with white men, which isn't a problem, but I'm like,
Yeah.
black porn sells. Like, that's a whole nother topic, but
Yeah.
black porn sells. It's there. Look at the ebony category. Look at like the top 5. It's like in with other things, but Ebony and BBW are like in the top 5, top 10, top
Mhm.
search things. So
Yeah.
I'm like, long story short, more black porn is what was what I want to shoot. And I want to shoot like comedy stuff. Like, I like funny porn. I don't want to just only shoot gonzo stuff. There's a time and a place for just like, let's just pound, pound, pound. But then like, I want to make stuff with a storyline or role play or comedy. And that's what my kind of kick is right now. It's like comedy porn.
Ooh, fun. Wait, tell us about
Yeah.
comedy porn quickly. Like,
I don't know. Did you see my I have a pinned tweet where it's like I'm like a pervy yoga instructor, and I'm like, I
oh,
got
yes.
workout equipment, state of the art, brand new stuff. It's just a strap on.
Yes, yes,
And it's like,
yes.
let me check you out, get you in the right position, stuff like that. It was just really funny because it was just like really off the chain type stuff that we're coming with off the fly. And I'm like, I'm really proud of that one.
Well, I like that too because it's different than like everything else that's out there too. And it's like your own.
Totally.
You get to shoot your own. You get to make your own spiel on things, which I think is really really cool. And I think more people need to be taking charge that way because I've even talked to a couple of recent guests as well, and they're like, "Oh, I'm not always into shooting this. Like it's nice when you shoot mainstream, but like it's not the stuff that I would always want to be shooting, if that makes any sense."
Totally. I think of that as a supplement where some people think you might be either, where a lot of people who are booked all the time for mainstream, that's their main and their content is a supplement.
Mhm.
I'm the opposite, that my stuff that I make is my main and that's just a supplement. That's a benefit. That's a perk.
Totally. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
What else they got from me, right?
the last one. Who's been your favorite partner to shoot with?
My most favorite partner to shoot with and that I always recommend with is Isaiah Maxwell. It was just his birthday the other day. But he's just I feel like he's like like this should be the standard of, he's such a gentleman. He, gets the job done. You have a great time. He focuses on you and like your needs and what you want. And he's just one of my absolute favorites to shoot with for sure.
Shout out.
Right? Shout out.
That's super fun. That is all the time we have for questions. I know you have to get out of here as well soon, but Bad Kitty, before we let you go, where can we find you?
So you can find me at badkitty.com. So Bad Kitty is BADKITYYY. So 3 Y's in the Bad Kitty, all caps. Badkitty.com is my personal website. Everything's linked on there, but I'm on all the websites as Bad Kitty. Sometimes there's, an underscore or an X at the end or whatever, but I'm on Pornhub, Xvideos, OnlyFans, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, Fansly, Pocket Stars, Just for Fans, Loyal Fans, all of them. Saturate you.
All of the things. I'll just place your link down below. Badkitty.com.
Badkitty.com.
Click that link if you haven't already. And everyone else that's listening at home, it's new episodes every single Sunday and all podcast platforms. Don't forget to like, rate, share, review on Apple, and maybe subscribe on wherever you get your podcast. Maybe rate me 5. I cannot talk today. Rate me 5 stars on Spotify. If you want,
support and review.
Yes, do the things that helps with visibility, helps people find the show as well, and it just is a really nice token of your appreciation, and I appreciate all the things. So that's that, and that is it for today. It's going to be another brand new episode next Sunday. Stay tuned on who I will be bringing onto the show next week. But for now, bye for now, Bad Kitty. Thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you so much for having me. I had a fantastic time, and I love what you do in your platform. So thanks for what you do.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
You're listening to Stripped by Sia, hosted, produced, and edited by Steph Sia, music by Ted D, graphic design by Maria Bellandarama, and photography by Ian Dabrin.